How are you guys enjoying Permissionless?
I mean, I'm the most biased person you will ever ask about
Obviously,
that.
probably the most optimistic.
It's actually probably the best conference the industry's ever hosted, I would say. Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a better crypto conference, but as the organizer, I have to say that. So
there you go.
I think it's like, I'm an American, like grew up here. It's important that we have an American presence. So like, it's easy for like Permissionless to pick up and go to like Asia, where I'm sure there'll be more attendees.
Sure.
But as people pushing forward the American values of crypto, it's gonna be an uphill battle. So I think regardless, like Permissionless and BlockWorks is doing a phenomenal job of holding down the fort. And hopefully, as time goes on, this becomes a standard.
Yeah, I mean, I was joking around, but I can give you maybe more of my honest feedback on the event, which is I genuinely believe that because of where BlockWorks sits in the ecosystem, we've been able to get a quality of attendee that is higher than most other conferences. But because of the US regulatory apparatus, the size of a US conference is just going to be much smaller than an Asia conference, right? We're coming off the back of Token 2049, 20,000 attendees, probably 50 to 80,000 people went to Singapore. This is, I mean, it's not even close to the size of that. And it's just good to be candid about that. However, I think that US conferences can get back there for anyone who's been in the industry for a while. Consensus 2018, 15,000 people. The first Permissionless had like 4 times the attendees that this had. So maybe 3 times the attendees.
What were the last locations?
So first Permissionless was 2022 in Palm Beach.
Okay.
2023 was Austin, and then now it's in Salt Lake. And so we are debating right now. So we have another conference brand called Digital Asset Summit, where we host. It's more of buttoned up institutional crowd. We host that in New York and London. We are debating for Permissionless. Do we turn it into more of like a developer conference, more like DAS, where it's more B2B buttoned up? Do we bring it to Asia as a big, Asia event like Token, but maybe in Hong Kong? Or do we double down on the United States, say, look, we're long the United States over a long period of time. This is one of the fastest growing industries in the world. The United States, we have to have a presence, and who's going to build it if not us? So maybe we go somewhere like Vegas or somewhere else.
Yeah, I was saying like I totally on like New York would make most sense because most American crypto people are New York based. So A, would make attendees a lot easier, and B, like New York is going to be the leader of American crypto, whether we like it or not. Like Salt Lake is great, obviously, but I can't count anyone I know in Salt Lake crypto, which probably makes it a burden, right? But I think either like I think Stanford Blockchain recently moved to New York as well, just to make it easier. I think generally if we could do a conference in New York, bringing developers, projects, founders. I think one thing that New York crypto has that nowhere else in the world has is access to capital. Even when I was fundraising, right, I stayed in New York for 6 months. Every big VC has headquarters in New York. If you are a builder and you want to be taken seriously, you will spend time in New York, and that's an edge the United States has over anyone. So maybe we can do some kind of pitch competitions. Maybe it's like incubator or something like that. Combine VCs, which is a strength of New York, to builders. I think New York still has the highest quality builders and founders.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say just from my own opinion, double down in the U.S. and then focus on all those other, side things that you can do. Like the karate combat stuff is really, fun. All the side events afterwards, plus, and then, talking about VCs and funding, a lot of companies, that's exactly what they're looking for. And being a place like New York, maybe Chicago or LA, you're going to find that stuff a little bit easier. Could be good locations. Maybe Vegas. Vegas, you'll probably get a lot of attendees. It's a very popular place to.
Yeah, it just doesn't really have that kind of like crypto native feel.
It doesn't, but you'll get a lot of people.
Like scammers and grifters.
Yeah.
And Kane.
Yeah, and Kane.
So why Salt Lake City?
There's a problem that we saw in the conference industry with big conferences, which is the kind of proliferation of side events. So if you look at how the conferences in the industry used to go, whether this was the Ethereal Summit in 2018 or Consensus in 2017 and 2018 and 2019, or even Digital Asset Summit, you host a conference and there's this magic where a conference, basically you're kind of creating a marketplace, standing up a marketplace and shutting it down. So there's buyers and sellers who come, and hopefully they get to meet, and they do a lot of business together. And there's like this magic in a conference. Over the last couple of years, there's been this proliferation of side events that have happened. And our theory was that the side events came because we started hosting these events in big cities, and because honestly, conference organizers got pretty greedy and started charging an arm and a leg for sponsorships. So our thought was, hey, if we got out of a city like Singapore or New York or Dubai or something, and went somewhere like Salt Lake where got nothing but love for Salt Lake, but there aren't that many bars and restaurants to do things at. No clubs really. Maybe that would drive people into the conference venue. Takeaway is, I think the theory was right that there aren't many side events, but we probably over optimized for that, because what we gained from having no side event or minimal side events, we lost by there's no crypto scene in Salt Lake, right? So every single person here basically had to fly to the conference.
I'm happy to fly here for you guys.
Thanks.
My personal takeaway is it's been really nice to network with people here. It feels a lot more intimate than a lot of other conferences. And I don't know if that's just because it's Salt Lake and I think the general vibe of the area, or maybe people were overestimating maybe more people coming and how big the venue is. But it's been really good because I've been able to meet with more people, interact with more people, like during the events, during the conference, afterwards, in the evenings too. Far more than I have been able to, like, pretty much anywhere else. So it's really efficient, I think, in that standard.
Yeah, I mean, the counter to everything I'm saying is that a big event is not that enjoyable of an event, right? You walk through something like, I've got nothing but love for folks who organize things like ETH Denver and Token, because it's very hard because there's so many people. But like from an attendee point of view, you're kind of walking through, it feels like a crammed bar the whole time you're at an event, and like there's not many real conversations that happen. So.
I mean, if you want that, you can go to a rave. But I mean,
even like I did a talk yesterday. It's pretty filled. I would say like people who are coming to the event actually listen to the talks, which is rare. If you go to most of these, even like the ETH events, I'd say the ETH talks are like empty, and then you go to like the side events and everyone's there, right? So it's cool to have like a packed audience, people actually listening to you. Like I saw people taking notes, which I haven't seen in like months. So I think it's people are more engaged here.
Awesome. Maybe a little bit about each of you too. I mean, I know you're with BlockWorks, Rushi, you're with Movement, right? Yep. Maybe a little bit of description about both and what you guys do, if people out there that maybe aren't as completely familiar.
I'll start. I'm Rushi, one of the co-founders of Movement. We're bringing the Move language and the Move paradigm to Ethereum and beyond. For those that aren't familiar, Move started off from the DM days, so kind of the Facebook crypto project, if you will. The thesis is high throughput execution, secure DeFi, secure execution, and we're bringing it to Ethereum through layer 2.
Cool. Yeah, I'm Jason. I'm one of the co-founders of BlockWorks. We launched 7 years ago. So we launched in December 2017. So we've seen a couple of cycles in crypto so far. The whole thesis of the business is that crypto is going to become one of the largest institutional asset classes in the world. All value in the world will eventually move on to crypto rails. And as that happens, people are going to have to get smarter about the industry and about the asset class and about the technology. More people moving into the industry means that, as those people move into the industry, they're going to need a better source of information. They're going to need podcasts. They're going to need newsletters. They're going to need research. They're going to need data. They're going to need news stories. They're going to need places to meet in person. And so that's what we are. We're a media and information platform. We have 3 sides of the business: media company, where we own most of the podcasts and newsletters in the industry. We have conference business with Permissionless and Digital Asset Summit. And then we have a research and data business.
It sounds like you guys are doing it all from a media standpoint. I follow BlockWorks, so I get a lot of my news from you guys too. But yeah, you said conferences and podcasts. So you got so many things under your belt. What's next?
We just launched a business where I know Rushi does not like the name of this, but it's BlockWorks Advisory. So we just launched this on Wednesday. BlockWorks Advisory. Basically, there are a lot of protocols in crypto, right? There's L1s, L2s, apps. And they are amazing at building products and BD and things like that. They have to do all these things that are not normal for a company, though. Mm-hmm. They have to figure out how to launch a token. They have to figure out how to run a grants program. They have to figure out how to build incentive programs. They have to figure out how to set up a foundation. How do you do treasury management? How do you do treasury management on chain with a bunch of delegates who don't really know much, but like they're making the decisions in your protocol? That's all really hard stuff. So in traditional businesses, they would go hire maybe McKinsey or BCG or Deloitte if they didn't know how to do something. There are no crypto native consulting firms. And so that's what we've recently launched, is BlockWorks Advisory, to essentially help these protocols go to the next level, focus on the things they're good at, and outsource some of the things that they might need help with. So
awesome. And then Rushi, with Movement, like what have you been looking to get out of Permissionless, and what have been some key moments for you guys, partnerships, collaborations, networking, things that you guys have gotten out of it?
Yeah, we launched testnet, I would say, a month and a half ago. Mainnet coming up this year. So meeting a lot of ecosystem teams. We did dinner last night with all our ecosystem teams and Permissionless and some of our VCs. Just cool bar that we brought people together and enjoyed Salt Lake together. I think beyond that, there's a lot of like industry leaders here, founders. So it was good to chat with some institutions here as well. And thanks to Yana for organizing it.
What's the coolest thing happening on Movement right now?
Coolest thing happening in Movement besides mainnet coming up, we have like this team called Up Network, which is like a mobile phone. So they've sold like around $6 million worth of Movement phones, and each one of these phones comes installed with all our wallets and all our devices. So now you can actually just like sign transactions with like an Android phone. It has the same specs as.
When's that coming?
It's sold out right now. So
really?
It's in production mostly in mainland China and Southeast Asia, but they're trying to expand to broader markets.
Well, let me know. I need a new phone.
Of course, I can get you.
Got to get the girlfriend something too for the holidays.
I don't think she like a crypto phone.
She might not, but she's getting it.
She's getting it.
What are some highlights from the events so far that you think have been like really awesome to see? Obviously, it's not done yet. We're on day 3, but
yeah, I mean, easily the big highlights for me is we've been hosting events for several years, and we have these two kinds of events. We have the buttoned up institutional event, Digital Asset Summit, and then we have this kind of like shorts and a t-shirt, permissionless style event. We've never been able to get the kind of suit and tie crowd to come to the shorts and a t-shirt crowd. And at this event, we had two really interesting panels. One was with Samara Cohen from BlackRock. She's the CIO of BlackRock's entire ETF business, runs trillions of dollars of wealth, not even billions, runs trillions of dollars of wealth. And, she's incredibly bright on digital assets. And the way that she describes crypto is, BlackRock as a business is basically moving on chain, right? And that is it's a pretty remarkable thing for the CIO of their ETF business to say. The second thing is, we've never really been able to get politicians at our event, and we've had several congressmen and senators. I just left a meeting with Senator Mike Lee and Congressman John Curtis. Mike Lee, if Trump wins, might be our next attorney general. John Curtis is taking Mitt Romney's seat in the Senate in Utah. These are, U.S. senators who are now speaking at crypto conferences. It's easy to take for it's just helpful to zoom out and think about how far the industry has come. And when that kind of stuff happens, the CIO of BlackRock, senators, congressmen speaking at these events, it's a reminder of how far the industry has come.
Do they seem optimistic, or do they seem like there's a lot of work to be done?
Both, I would say. They seem very optimistic. The thing that at least the senators and the congressmen keep driving home in private meetings is this idea that stablecoins are a national security issue. We take for granted that the internet, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, et cetera, are U.S. companies, right? So if India sanctions Facebook and they say, hey, Zuckerberg, you have to come to India and sit down with us, Zuck can say, I'm sorry, I'm not not doing that. The reason that is the case is because the internet has been created in the United States. There is a chance that if we keep going the way that we're going with the regulators, that crypto will be built in Dubai, it will be built in London, it will be built in Singapore, and you just shouldn't underestimate the impact that can have on these massive things like US dollar hegemony and the US as the global world power. If the largest industry in the world, I guess the two largest are AI and crypto right now, if one of those is built outside of the United States, it becomes a global national security issue. So that is, I think, the conversation happening in the rooms right now.
Interesting. So zooming out, maybe this is a question for both of you, but looking at crypto in the US, it's definitely had some hardships over the last couple of years, some growing pains, a very, I'd say, not healthy ecosystem in the US, people, going after companies, government kind of being against it. Obviously, there's a lot of things up in the air. We have an election coming up in about a month, less than that. Do you think that the US is still the bastion for the crypto industry, or do you think that's shifting away and moving to other places globally, or what's the sentiment?
The thesis behind crypto is global-wide payments, right? I think when tech first started off in the dot-com bubble, it was like, okay, Facebook still had Silicon Valley, you still have majority of VC deployers and users in the States, but like stable coins and cryptocurrencies, the PMF is global. Like we have Venmo today. I can send money to Jason from New York to San Francisco, speed of light from Venmo, right? but you want to send money from New York to Thailand, New York to Tokyo, that's where it gets difficult. So crypto is unlike traditional tech, where the thesis is crypto, like global payments, global adoption. So that makes it trickier from where's the home origin. I still think US has the best founders, has the best capital deployers, has the best faces of the industry. BlockWorks is doing a good job, like actually doubling down in the States. But I do think like ultimately the crypto, for it to be adopted, it has to be present every country, every continent. And I think the US saw that as a threat in the past. But like Jason said, like in the past, like governors wouldn't come to conferences. You wouldn't have politicians talking about it. Crypto is now a national issue, a voting issue. 4 years ago, it wasn't even coming up, right? So zooming out, we've made a lot of progress. There's a lot of work to be done, but I think that's why we're here today, right?
The thing that I've taken away from this conference is that crypto's won. It used to be, I remember the bear market of 2018 and 2019, and my co-founder and I were like, should we get a job at Netflix? And is this industry like even going to exist? And then 2023, no one was really asking that existential question, but it was like, man, like I don't really know what's going to happen here. Still people were slightly optimistic, but it was kind of tough to see where we were going. Crypto has definitively won. And the reason I feel very confident saying that is because it has now permeated Wall Street. And there are two types of kind of people in politics. There are the people who opt out of the system and the people who lean into the system and say, look, we've got to kind of play in the system. Crypto people, love them. They opt out of the system. And that has not been to our benefit. Now that crypto assets have permeated Wall Street, whether it's Franklin Templeton or Fidelity or Van Eck or BlackRock, it's game over, because those folks understand the political system, and those folks don't say, hey, we need to opt out of the system. They say, hey, look, let's play. We know how to play in this system. And as soon as the assets are inside of the Wall Street system, I would call it, there's no rewinding that clock. And I feel very confident saying that crypto has won. It's just a matter of time for how long it actually takes.
I agree.
Yeah.
Final question for both of you. We'll start with Rushi. Movement. What's on the roadmap? What's coming up next for you guys? What should people be aware of, heading into obviously the last quarter of this year, but into 2025?
Yeah, we have mainnet coming up end of the year. Will be the first like alternative VM coming to Ethereum, which is exciting. So in the past, it's always been like 5,000 EVML2s. And I think Ethereum needs like a revitalizing where it's like new performance, new energy, and I'm excited to move into be part of the revolution. And right now you can check out testnet.movement.labs.xyz.
I think the biggest thing for us is we have a clear shot at the first 5 years of the business was taking on the crypto native media companies, the CoinDesks and the Blocks of the world. And I feel like we've confidently done that. The next couple of years are taking on the kind of crypto native research and information and data providers. And I think we're doing a good job at that. And we're starting to set our eyes on, hey, look, what does it actually mean to take on the Bloombergs and Wall Street Journals of the world? And I think that's a thing that we're starting to think about right now.
Anything you can divulge on Permissionless 4, or is it too early?
The honest answer is we don't know. We are debating the ideas that are floating around in our head are, do we do this in New York? Do we do this in somewhere like a Vegas around Formula One and do it really crazy, kind of like what Token does in Singapore? Do we do this in Asia instead of maybe in Singapore? Do we go to somewhere like Hong Kong? Or do we turn this into more of like a B2B developer style event? And so the honest answer is I don't know. What I do know is we're hosting 2 events next year: Digital Asset Summit in New York, Digital Asset Summit in London.
Awesome. Jason, Rushi, thank you guys for taking the time to come on. Really appreciate it. I know you guys are busy, but enjoy your last day. And yeah, let's do another episode again in the future.
Cool. Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, Brandon.